Hi guys, so today I want to talk about my experience doing the Whole30 program. The Whole30 program was created by Melissa and Dallas Hardwick in, I don't actually know when, I'm going to look it up and put it there, I guess. They've written a book about it. The book's called It Starts With Food. And when I was diagnosed with myasthenia, I was feeling awful for a pretty long time. I was diagnosed in September 2016. I was in the hospital until the end of January 2017, which is this year. Is it this year? Yes, it is. Then went home and I felt awful. I couldn't really move anymore. I couldn't get up from my own bed. I had to move back in with my mum. Now, I was 28 at that point. I was way too old to be living with my mother, even though I'm eternally grateful for what she did to me, right? There's no question about it. She was a true hero. Yeah, so I went home and I couldn't move. I couldn't exercise whatsoever. I was put on prednisone, which at that stage was still at 80 milligrams. And prednisone has the lovely side effect that you start building up fat and water really fast, retaining fat and water. So within 3 months, the first 3 months of being on prednisone, I gained about 35 to 40 pounds. So finally, I was home. I went to the rehabilitation, which is like a program where they try to reactivate your muscles. It's, once you leave the hospital in Germany, the doctors decide if you need reactivation for your muscles and to go back into your job. So I was put into this program for 3 weeks, and while I was there in the clinic, they put me on a diet which was, I don't know, it was about 1,300 calories a day. Anyway, they put me on a diet there, and I was still gaining weight, right? So at the point I went into the clinic, I had gained 20 pounds. I mean, not ideal, but you can live with it. At least I could. By the time I left the clinic, even though I was on a diet, I had gained another 20 pounds. So in the end, I was 105 kilograms, which is 200 and something pounds. So I went home and felt awful. Couldn't move. I couldn't play with my dog. I couldn't get up from the toilet most of the time. I was downright depressed, but didn't want to admit that to myself. And I did what I always do when I'm depressed. I eat. That's like my number one coping mechanism. You feel bad, you eat. The chewing, the swallowing, it just makes me feel better. Makes everybody feel better. We all know it. So eventually I got to a point where my mother took a photograph of me and I was sitting in the yard and I couldn't really see, right? So I tried to spend my time crafting stuff. I'm awful at crafting. I shouldn't be crafting ever. It's not a good fit for me. Anyway, I couldn't really do anything else. So, I tried crocheting. I created elaborate postcards for my friends. No one wanted, but they pretended they did. Good people. So my mother took this photograph of me and I saw the photograph and I was shocked, right? I was so incredibly fat. So eventually I started researching diets that would possibly help with myasthenia gravis. Now there's a lot of Facebook groups, for example, that where you can ask questions, and some people have told about this story, going either vegan or going on an autoimmune protocol, or going on Whole30, and how that helped them with their myasthenia symptoms. So I looked into paleo and I looked into the keto diet, lifestyle, whatever you want to call it, and then I found Whole30, which people seem to have great success with. Additionally to wanting to ease my symptoms, I obviously also wanted to lose weight because I felt awful. And I'm vain. What can I say? So I looked into it. I borrowed the book from the library. So let me just explain the Whole30 principle really quickly. So it's a program where for 30 days, you eliminate everything that's bad for you, basically, right? So there's 3 easy rules to it. The number 1 rule is you're supposed to break unhealthy eating habits. Number 2 rule is you're supposed to avoid food that disrupt your blood sugar levels. Number 3 is you avoid foods that are gut damaging, and number 4 is, sorry, I have to read it because I can't remember, you avoid inflammatory foods. Now they all have beautiful chapters, multiple chapters in the book, but it boils down to these 4 rules, which basically leaves you with meals that are based around animal proteins, right? So you eat animal proteins or proteins for every meal, which could be meat, seafood, eggs, things like that, fish, vegetables, fruits, and natural fats. And you are supposed to avoid added sugars, so anything in ready prepared products where sugar in it, they all fall out. Alcohol, which was easy for me because I can't drink on nights. Grains like wheat, any grain really, pseudo grains like quinoa, legumes, dairy, and you're not supposed to have any baked good or treats. So you're not supposed to create like pancakes from only banana and eggs, because that would be creating a snack or a treat. You're not supposed to do that because that would be adding to your unhealthy eating habits. You're not supposed to step on a scale because it's all about feeling better about yourself and not how much you weigh. Makes total sense. You're also not supposed to count calories, which if you've had a obsession with your weight for a while, like many women do, and I most definitely do, it's very hard because you start thinking you eat too much. So you eat 3 meals a day. They're based around protein. The rest is vegetables and healthy fats, and you eat until you're full, and then you're supposed to stay full until the next meal, right? No snacks in between, just the 3 meals. So you don't eat just for fun or for boredom or whatever reason it is you eat for. So I started the Whole30 and I read the book because I wanted to regain control of myself and see if I could make any impact on my clinical health, on myself, if I could make anything better. Now, what did it take from the whole situation? Here are the pros, basically. Starting Whole30 gave me something to do after having absolutely no focus and no perspective, no future, in my opinion, anyway. For a while, starting the Whole30 gave me a way to fill out my days, right? Because I had so many physical constraints and emotional constraints, obviously. Constraint is not it doesn't matter. That creating 3 meals a day while you can't really stand up or use your hands properly could fill out my entire day. I started cooking, I started learning things, I started creating new recipes, and like I said, that was just good. Additionally, it did showcase to myself that I was terribly addicted to sugar. I always knew that. It's not a surprise to me. I have no self-control about food at all. It showed me the very unhealthy psychological cycle I was on regarding food. That every time I had a feeling whatsoever or just was bored, I had to kill it with food, basically. I murdered it by eating. Everything that was going on with my life would be either I would take care of by restricting food to lose weight and look better, by binging like crazy, or by just obsessing about food. The Whole30 also did lead to an improvement in my myasthenia symptoms and to an improvement in my general mood. I cannot say that I'm sure that this improvement was caused by Whole30, per se, because at that point I had been taking the meds for a while, and they might have just started working properly. You know, some of those things don't work immediately. You have to find the right dosage, and that might take for a couple of months. So it might have just, you know, it might have just been my body accepting the meds immediate at some stage, or it might have been the diet. It was probably a combination of both. It was probably the combination that I finally had something to do and had a reason to get up, and that the meds started working, and that I stopped putting awful shit into my body. Presumably it was a combination of all of them, I want to say. And the best thing that happened while I was on Whole30 was that it did kickstart my interest in nutrition and self-love and self-improvement and overthinking, and starting to analyze the way I work with food, or I address food. The negative points of it were, for me, there's just too many animal products in the diet. All the meals are based around meat, eggs, poultry meat, fish, whatever. There's too much. My conscience would not take that much, causing that much animal suffering, without being sure that that is the only way to make myself feel better. Now, don't get me wrong, I love animals, but if it's me against the cow, and that is the only option, right, I'm gonna be the one that survives. But I do live in a reality where that is not the case. So I wasn't completely convinced that Whole30 was the only way. I mean, living on animal protein was the only way. So I could not justify eating that many animal products for myself. My conscience would not take it. Just no, just no. I mean, that's everybody's decision. I don't want to push anyone in either direction, but for me, that's no, I can't. The other thing is that, having read the book, and even while I was reading the book, the science behind it was not entirely convincing. I can accept that gluten is an issue for many people. I am even sure that sugar and artificial sweeteners and all these, as they say, frankenfoods are awful, but it isn't really a proven fact. I've been eating gluten my entire life. I never had an issue with it. I cut it out of my diet for the 30 days regardless, because, you know, I was committed to the system, to the Whole30, so, you know, I had nothing to lose. Some of the science I just knew nothing about. I know nothing about inflammatory foods. I know nothing about insulin disrupting food. I don't have diabetes. I don't actually know a lot of people that do have diabetes from my family, but, you know, I still know nothing about it, so I'm not going to judge the situation. But the part about the legumes, for example, seemed particularly pointless to me, because even in the book they mentioned that the science behind it isn't bulletproof. No, it is not. It is absolutely not. The idea why legumes are forbidden is that, according to what they say, gluten has a negative effect on your gut. So since legumes have particles in them that are alike to the ones of gluten, they just assume that they are also bad for you. Again, you know, assumptions don't really mean anything to me. No, I also just don't believe it. Anyway, I cut them out of my diet just because, you know, I was committed. So I cut them out. I left them out for 30 days. Wasn't really that hard. Didn't really kill me. Didn't really like peace before that. Anyway. Yeah. The other thing is that, all these things like legumes and gluten and all the other pseudo grains, what did I say? Yeah, grains and pseudograins. They affect the health of your gut, leading to leaky gut syndrome, which is also not really a proven thing. It's an idea. Maybe it's not researched well. Maybe it's true. I don't know. But the research doesn't really confirm the ideas they were having. You don't really have to look very far to find that out. The other issue I had for that with the system is that they claim that this diet is the cure for all diet. I generally do not believe that. There's no diet in the world that will cure everything. Everybody is different. Everyone has different needs. Someone with morbus Crohn or what do they call it? Crohn's disease, I think they call it in the US. Probably has very different needs than I would, or someone with a healthy gut, or someone that exercises a lot would have very different needs than someone like me that never exercises and really can't. So, it's not one for all. It can't work like that. I just don't believe in that. Besides that, like I said, I had a good experience doing the Whole30. I would recommend it to others. I have recommended it to a friend of mine who's been doing the Whole30 for a lot longer, and she feels great on it. Brilliant. If it works for her, that's great. For me, myself, that did not work for me. But I would recommend it to other people. It did kickstart my interest in nutrition. It did kickstart me looking into what is in food, what can I do to my body to improve my symptoms. And it did lead me to a diet that is much more suitable for me, which I feel great on now. But I do eat legumes, I do eat gluten now, and I still feel great. I feel much better than I felt when I was on the Whole30 anyway, but again, I can't really... is it that I'm not on the Whole30 anymore? Is it that my drugs are finally working to its full capacity? Because if I do change my drug dose, I feel worse again. But anyway, it worked for me. So another good thing was the reintegration phase of Whole30. Now you cut out these things for 30 days, and after that you're supposed to slowly reintegrate foods to check out how you're doing on them. So I thought it was a great thing. I did find out that dairy is really bad for me. I did find out that if I don't eat any wheats or carbs, or don't focus my diet on carbs, I have horrible diarrhea. It's not going to work for me. So I went into a different direction and started researching things, trying out new things, and finally switched to plant-based. So finally, I would recommend doing the Whole30 for everyone with an autoimmune disease, just because it might start you thinking about things, and it does work for many people. So this is it for today. Yes. Now, if you have any questions, you want to talk, you want to do anything, you can contact me down below. I have also added a link to my Pinterest board, where I put down a bit of the inspiration I had while I was on Whole30. So there might be some recipes on there which you are interested in. If you were interested in me creating some videos of cooking any of these meals, let me know, because I do enjoy cooking them. It's just that I don't eat any animal products anymore, because cute little animals. You can talk to me in the comments. I do answer. You can contact me via email, Twitter, Instagram, or follow my Pinterest. It would be great to get into contact with any of you guys. I would truly enjoy that. Now, I hope you have a lovely day, and we'll talk to each other in a couple of days. Bye.